Okay, I'm starting now. Hi, Professor. This is Team 2-7, and this is our final project. I'm Andy.
I'm Alex.
Nathan.
I'm Connor.
I'm Mateo.
And we decided to do question number 1, which was, what will be the impact on producers and consumers of organic eggs, both immediate and longer term, from organic egg producers being required to conform to the outdoor access rule as determined by organic regulations? We will consider issues such as the equilibrium price of organic eggs, the cost of production as shown by individual and aggregated cost curves, and the possible impacts on the conventional egg market. So a little bit of background: in Jeffrey Mohan's article, Best Laid Plans to Give Chickens Room to Run are shelved with USDA Organics Rule. He talks about the USDA regulations regarding what egg farmers need to do to get an organic certification and how these regulations are affecting customer demand and the egg industry supply. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's organic certification governs not only what hens eat, but nearly everything about how they live their lives. With this certification, egg farmers can charge a premium price for their eggs. The problem with this is that many customers are unaware that organic and free-range certifications don't necessarily mean that chickens are running outside freely. There's a loophole in the law that allows factory farmers to call their eggs organic by simply adding on a screen porch to their barns. The main reason the titans of the egg industry still operate under the 2002 USDA regulation is that because a change would drive many egg farmers out of the market due to the higher costs and maintenance. Additionally, consumers would pay 21 to 50 cents more for a dozen of eggs. If a new law is passed that makes the USDA regulations more strict, United Egg Producers contends that nearly half the organic producers will leave the market, causing a shortage that will drive up prices. The large livestock and egg industries don't want the USDA certifications going through because they will lose money over it. Many consumers, though, want the rules to go through and be enforced, as shown by the 40,000 comments sent in during the lawmaking process by consumer-formed letter campaigns.
Some consumer demand issues that will occur is the quantity demanded by consumers will decrease due to the rise in price. Due to the law being implemented, the price per carton of eggs is expected to increase by 21 to 50 cents. But in the long term, which is expected to be about 15 years, consumers will adjust to the price if they want certified organic eggs. And then the demand, in total, the quantity demanded by consumers may change, but the demand curve will not shift, and the movement will be along the demand curve.
So in terms of the supply issues, the first one we'd probably think about is the price of factors of production. So basically, if the price of inputs go up, the cost of producing the good increases, and therefore at each price, producers need to sell their goods for more money. So an increase in the price of inputs will lead to a decrease in supply. The decrease in supply of inputs will lead to an increase of the price. So at any given price, firms will decrease their aggregate production of eggs because it will cost the producers more to produce an additional unit of the organic eggs due to the cost of the new mandatory structures. As we can see here in the graph, the marginal cost curve shifts up. Therefore, our point of maximizing will go down due to the quantity being produced at any given price being less. And in the article, it discusses how the expenses for the new requirements would be about $8 million to $30 million. This would most likely push a lot of producers out of the market because many of them couldn't handle that capital. And some additional shifters include seller expectations and technology, but all these shifts will occur in the same manner, and the supply curve will shift left and up. So a little bit more about the supply. Such requirements in the egg industry would definitely have big impacts in the short term, but over a longer period of time, this may change. Some of the producers will most likely try to get back into the organic production area because they want to get those higher prices. But then again, in the short term, it's pretty difficult for a farmer to take on those costs. And the way that the market's going, organic's kind of like the new thing. So there's going to be a bigger shift towards organic, but not like currently. Overall, many of these aspects will lead to the basic shift of up and left, resulting in less quantity produced and higher prices. In this graph here, it pretty much sums up what I talked about. We can see that the supply shifts up and to the left due to the increase in production costs, and therefore it'll be less quantity being produced at a greater price being sold for those costs trying to be made up.
All right, so based on the article, there are multiple cases that could affect the market equilibrium. The first scenario features an increase in price, where there will be no dramatic shift in either the demand or supply curve. In other words, consumers will not choose to demand more or less eggs, nor will producers be forced to produce more eggs due to a price change. Instead, an increase in price will only result in a movement along both the supply and demand curve, therefore moving away from the market equilibrium price. This increase will then create a surplus of products between the quantity of eggs supplied, or the increase in price will then create a surplus of products because the quantity of egg supplies would exceed the quantity demanded by consumers at the potential price increase of 21 cents to 50 cents. The second scenario involves the United Egg Producers, or half of them, deciding that they would leave the market. So in 6 months, if producers were to leave the market, we would see a significant drop in supply of organic eggs. This situation would cause a downshift in the supply curve, but no change in demand. As a result, the market equilibrium price will increase, and we would see market prices increase. So if we look at the graphs, the next slide, please. So if we look at the graphs, in the first scenario, we see that there's a price change and that it has shifted up above the market equilibrium. And we see that empty space right there in that triangle. There is a supplier surplus, meaning that the producers are producing more eggs than is actually demanded. Whereas in the second scenario, we see that shift in the supply curve, and we see a change in the equilibrium, and we get an increase in equilibrium.
And to conclude, from what we know, prices in the market rely on supply and demand interacting with each other. And there are a number of different scenarios in which supply and demand affect the market. Whether they're short-term or long-term, changes in either supply or demand cause a shift in equilibrium price.